Hey guys, we are well into our biology unit and we are in week 12. All right, so let's go through a couple things. Make sure you're keeping up with your warm-ups. All right, this gives us some introduction to the content we're going to be covering that day. So at this point, we've gone over some of the word parts that are going to help us out when we see bigger vocabulary words as we go. Remember, auto meant self, uni means one, multi means more than one. Okay. And we are working on the middle part of this organization. All right, we learned about atoms and molecules. We're doing cells right here. That's really what we're focused on now. This part, tissue through organism, will be most of your 7th grade year, right? Human body systems and ending up with you doing your frog dissection. We will cover this portion, population through biosphere. A lot of this you already have a lot of life experience with. Think about trips to the zoo, or as I'll jokingly refer to as your Dora and Diego days, right? Or Octonauts or Wildcrats, okay? Like the shows you watched, you're little. Okay, so you actually have a lot of information here. We just may have to tweak some vocabulary words. Okay, talking a lot about the structure. Got a typo. Gotta fix it. Okay. And function of different cells. So here are some of the ones in our human body, and see how different they look. There's a lot that's the same. Think like a chair. A chair in the classroom versus a recliner, lazy boy. Similar structure, but they have a different job. So they're not going to have the exact same structure, but they still have support for your bottom, a place for your back. Okay, so the designs of these cells depend on what their job or their function is. Right? And we looked at some different kind of cells. These are the microscopic ones, and these are like the drawings thereof. Okay, and we're going to go more into these things when we talk about domains and kingdoms. But just to kind of give you an idea about how they're the same and how they're different. And this funny little unit down here was the micrometer. Okay, we couldn't put mm because millimeter is already taken. Micrometer is like a millionth. Like take a meter stick and divide it up into a million tiny pieces. That's how long a micrometer is. That weird looking U is a Greek letter. It's the Greek letter mu, not like moo moo cow, but mu. Okay. Some of the stuff that should already be taken care of. Right? We've covered prokaryotic versus eukaryotic. Pro rhymes with no nucleus, just this kind of pretender. Eukaryotic, you do have a nucleus, and they're a bit more complex. They have all of these organelles inside. Okay. And just because we were talking about it, this is what the cells look like. Most of them are very thin, so they're see-through or transparent. So when we see these microscopic images, they're usually stained so that they show up better, and we can see definition in some of the parts. We talked about these objects, and most people recognize them as blood cells, red blood cells, white blood cells, but we talked about how to describe them. Color, texture, apparent size, and this kind of brownish stuff is an artery or vein, like a blood vessel it would travel through. But like their jobs in our circulatory system and what they do, like these carry iron, think like rusting, that's why they're red. Platelets, look at their name, look at their shape. They look like little plates. These clog up the hole when you are bleeding, right, when you scrape your knee. We know the white blood cells like in the picture, but there are specialty ones. So think about like people in the military. Some branches have a specialty unit, like the Navy SEALs. Okay, they are trained in a specific skill, and that's some of these. So if you click on that link, you'll see a neutrophil chasing down a staph bacteria. It's almost like Pac-Man. Okay. All right. This was Monday stuff, so I'm going to explain the Gizmo. Okay, you should not have any missing work, and make sure your ed puzzles are all cut up. Okay. And then today we talked about autotrophs and heterotrophs. Okay. And then there's our to-do list. Right, but we will carry on with this later. Let's look at first our science notebook. Let's start with our biology tab. So it's on slide 78. Remember, this is in Science Google Classroom. It's its own tab. We've got the characteristics life here with the is it alive. So people in the room got the paper copy. The Zoomers, it's digital. So you may or may not have the paper here. We've got our pro versus eukaryotic cells notes. Our article, if we had the paper copy, like we printed it or we're in the classroom. We have our classification triangle that we filled in. This one's not complete. All right, you have to fill yours in while you watch the ed puzzle over classification. And then this is new stuff for today. Okay, like how to set up your classification vocabulary. And I showed you in class how to create this and the file is on Classroom. Okay. As far as the Gizmo goes, so I open it up. I will do all my work in this Edpuzzle. And this is my assignment. It has all my instructions. So at first glance, it kind of looks Fiesta themed. It looks like El Gizmo. This just means explore learning. Okay. Here's some of what we're going to learn how to do. Some new words. We have logged in multiple times. You have your own account. So you don't need to enroll again. If you followed the instructions I gave you the first time, your username should be your first initial, last name, 4 digits. And your password should be your school password, like your lunch number. But some people did not follow directions, so yours may be different. If you cannot get logged in, you need to let me know immediately. Hopefully you saved that password on your computer, but that's why we use the school login, to make it easier. Okay. So once you go there, well, I'll get to mine in a second. It'll pop up with these two. Notice it tells you to click the start here with the cell types first. If you click cell structure, you'll be very lost. All right, we'll get to that one. But with cell structure, that will be the last part of today. But cell types. Okay. So before I even have to worry about the Gizmo, right here, this is almost like a warm-up type question. It says, how do you know something's alive? That's that is it alive from our science notebook. Like, it has cells, it grows, it reproduces. That's the type of stuff they're looking for here. Okay, don't go Google things, don't make it this too complex. Just the things we talked about, is it alive, and the things that were mentioned on the characteristics of life Edpuzzle. Okay, now let me delete that so I can show you how I did it. With the actual Gizmo warm-up, the warm-up sections are designed to teach you how to use the things on that particular Gizmo. Okay, so notice there's instructions. If you don't follow the instructions, you're going to get lost. So if you are confused, reread your instructions, and that should clarify things for you. But it tells me that we're going to use a light microscope to compare and contrast different samples. On the Landscape tab, check the box for Show All Samples, and then select the LED leaf. Okay, so when I open this one, and mind you, I've got a bunch because mine's the teacher one. Okay, I launch it. Mine looks different. Don't worry about that. When it comes open, there's just this girl reading her book, hanging out with cows, right? It told me, though, to click Show All Samples. And then I see a lot of things that I may not have noticed before. But it told me to select the LED leaf, and I'll know I have selected it because of right here. Okay, I'll see it here. And then it tells me to go to the microscope tab. So you see these tabs across the top. You don't need to worry about the test for life. If you want to look at it when you're done, cool, but it's not part of our assignment, right? So when I go back here, okay, I'm on the microscope tab. It says it by default is under 40x magnification. It means it's zoomed in. It's 40 times bigger than you could see it with your eye. So here it tells me to use the coarse focus slider. Coarse is rough versus the fine focus, that's like delicate. Okay? And it tells me over here I can use my words to describe it, or I can take a screenshot. I'm going to take a screenshot. Okay, so there's two ways to do it. I can go to Tools and take a screenshot, but it takes the thing of the whole rectangle. I don't really want the microscope and the sliding things here. Okay, well, first I have to focus it. Let me make that go away. So it's on 40, but that's blurry. So the coarse focus, right? So I drag it back and forth until I get it as best I can. And then I kind of tweak it with the fine focus. Okay, notice it's not as dramatic when I use the fine focus. And I'm on 40. See that I can't click Show Labels yet, because in my instructions, it told me first to do it here, and then with 400. That's actually on the next slide, is the question I kept getting from kids. Sorry. Okay, so you see this little camera? I take a screenshot. I'm going to right click. Now, if you have like a MacBook or a Chromebook, just open a new tab and say, how do I right click on a Chromebook Lenovo? And it will tell you, because those are kind of specialty. Just the right click is usually with a Windows device. So I'm going to copy image, go back over here, paste. Okay, like, whoa, that's huge. So you can size it down to where you're satisfied. I'm fine if it covers up the instructions. I know what they say. But then you zoom it in. Okay, so you go back, you change it to 400. Okay, so you do the same thing we just did. All right, so once I've done that, I've done the other screenshot on zoomed even further in. Notice 400 is a lot more than 40. Okay. that's just a video clip showing me how to do what I just showed you. You're welcome. Save you a click. Okay. This just tells me a little bit about looking at cells. And then I start to look at them. Notice the directions. Follow the directions. Okay, it's like I showed you earlier. You can't click on the show labels when you're on 40. You have to be on 400. And then, oh look, all the things. Right? So that's probably the part where people ask the most questions because they didn't follow the directions carefully. They just wanted to click, 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 click. Follow the directions. That's why they're there. Okay. So you'll go through and put an X in these different specimens if they have a nucleus. Right? So to get your other specimen, you just go back over here under the landscape tab and click on it. Right? And you go through the process with each one of them. Right? And then you've got some conclusion questions. Right? Asking about, depending on did they have a nucleus, like it tells you right here in the green box. Just drag these over. If they don't, put them over in the red box. Right? Pardon the noise. It'll change. And then it's asking about prokaryotic. Remember, those don't have a nucleus. They have a sort of a nucleus, like a nucleoid. They have DNA. It's just hanging out loosey-goosey everywhere. So you've got a couple of questions to answer. All right, to wrap that up. Then you move on to part 2. Part 2 is the cell structure, that second one. Okay, and we're not going to get too detailed into cells and all of the jobs of these pieces because the year is weird, but that's more of a 7th grade topic. We just hit the high points like nucleus, maybe a chloroplast to tell the difference between an animal and plant. But on your Gizmo, okay, so you can go back to my classes, which mine are different, but if you have a math class that use this, you would have other things too. Okay. So we launched that one. This part's pretty self-explanatory, like animal cell, plant cell. You just click sample. So that was a drop of human blood. And this is it under the microscope. So you can play around with the, you can move it if you want, or zoom in, zoom out. Okay. But it's pointing to whatever you've selected in your drop down. Let's say I want to look at mitochondria. Then the arrow will change. Make sure to look here and see what the job is of that piece. More so you have a better understanding. Think about a cell is like a little body. Right? So inside your body you have heart, lungs, kidney that make your whole body work. These organelles, like little organs, all work together to make a cell work. Okay? So you'll just click through to the different pieces and label here. Like you'll click on in, well, let's do this one, and type nucleus. Right? That's it. You're just labeling the parts. Okay? When you're done, you'll turn it in. If you have any questions, feel free to shoot me a message on Classroom or send me an email. Tutoring is available every day but Wednesday. All right, look on Classroom in case you've forgotten where it is. Over here on the side, all these topics. All right, if you scroll back to the beginning, there's tutoring. It's just being slow. It shows you when my tutorings are and Miss Henning's. Both of ours are listed, just depending on the date and the time. She can help you just like I can. We all have the same assignments. Okay? Or if you need my science notebook, oh, where's it hiding? There it is. There's the tab. So you can make sure you have everything in your science notebook you need. Okay, thanks guys.